The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, especially when found in bad, heavily worn, damaged, or poor condition, is a classic and historically meaningful United States coin that represents an important moment in American and world history. And although it is not rare in a monetary sense, it carries deep cultural, economic, and historical significance that makes it fascinating to collectors, historians, and beginners alike. Because this coin was struck in 1941 at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark at that time. And the absence of a mint mark below the date on the obverse clearly identifies it as a Philadelphia issue. Produced during a year when the United States was standing on the edge of entering World War II, a period marked by global uncertainty, rising industrial production, and social change. And the total mintage of the 1941 Wheat Penny was extremely high, approximately 887 million coins, which explains why it is still commonly found today in circulated condition, especially in grades such as poor P1, fair FR2, about good AG3, or good G4, where most of the original design details have been worn smooth through decades of daily use in commerce. And in such bad condition, Lincoln's portrait on the obverse may appear flat, with weak or nearly invisible hair details, a softened jawline, and faint lettering around the rim, while the reverse wheat ears may be barely outlined, blending into the fields, with only the words 1 cent and United States of America remaining partially readable. And this level of wear tells a powerful story of how frequently the coin circulated during a time when a single penny could still buy everyday items like candy, matches, or newspaper services. And the coin's metal composition, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weigh 3.11 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter, adds another layer of historical importance, because shortly after this period, wartime demands caused copper shortages that forced the U.S. Mint to change compositions, most famously in 1943 with steel cents, making the 1941 Wheat Penny one of the last normal copper pennies before America fully mobilized for war. And the design itself, created by Victor David Brenner, is one of the most iconic in U.S. history. Coinage history, featuring Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose image symbolizes unity, freedom, and sacrifice, while the reverse wheat stalks represent agricultural abundance and national strength, themes that resonated deeply with Americans recovering from the Great Depression. And when a 1941 wheat penny is found in bad condition, it may also show signs of environmental damage, such as dark brown or black toning, green verdigris from copper oxidation, rim nicks, corrosion, scratches, bends, or even minor holes, all of which significantly reduce its collector value, but enhance its character as a circulated historical artifact. And in today's coin market, such a worn example typically holds only nominal value, often selling for 2 to 10 cents USD, sometimes slightly more if sold in bulk or to new collectors filling album slots. But it is not considered an investment-grade coin unless it has a rare mint error such as an off-center strike, broad strike, or clipped planchet, major die crack, or other dramatic manufacturing anomaly, which can command higher prices, even in low grades if authenticated. And it is also important to understand that cleaning a wheat penny, especially one in poor condition, almost always lowers its value further, because collectors prefer natural wear and original surfaces over artificially brightened or chemically altered coins. And while many people hope old pennies might be worth thousands, the reality is that only high-grade uncirculated 1941 cents, MS-65 and above, or certified error varieties achieve significant prices, while worn examples like a bad condition, no mint mark 1941 wheat penny are best appreciated for their historical storytelling value, educational usefulness, and sentimental appeal, especially for collectors outside the United States, who see it as a tangible piece of American history. And holding such a coin today connects you to millions of ordinary Americans who lived through the final years of peace before World War II. Factory workers, farmers, shopkeepers, children, and soldiers' families, making the true worth of the 1941 wheat penny not about rarity or profit, but about the quiet endurance of a small copper coin that survived over 8 decades of change, war, progress, and everyday life, standing as a humble witness to one of the most transformative eras of the 20th century. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a D mint mark, especially when found in bad, heavily worn, damaged, or poor condition, is a very common yet historically meaningful United States coin that reflects the final years of the famous wheat cent series and the everyday economic life of mid-20th century America. Because this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, clearly identified by the small D mint mark below the date on the obverse, and in 1957, the United States was experiencing a period of post-World War II growth, industrial expansion, and rising consumer culture, which meant coins like this penny circulated heavily in daily transactions such as grocery purchases, public transportation, newspapers, candy, and vending machines. And due to this heavy circulation, many 1957 D wheat pennies survive today only in bad condition, showing extensive wear, smooth surfaces, faded details, dark or uneven coloring, and sometimes environmental damage. And the Denver Mint produced a very large quantity of these coins, approximately 1,051,342,000 pieces, which is over 1 billion pennies, making it one of the highest mintage wheat cents ever struck. And this extremely high production explains why the 1957 D wheat penny is not rare at all in circulated or poor condition. Yet it still holds strong historical and educational value, especially for beginner collectors and those interested in American coinage history. And the coin was made of the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy, weighing 3.11 grams, with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, a composition that the U.S. Mint had used for decades, before switching to different alloys in later years. And the obverse design features the iconic right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB are found discreetly on the reverse near the rim. In bad condition, the obverse may show Lincoln's face nearly flat, with worn hair, weak lettering in Liberty, and a barely readable date, while the reverse wheat ears, symbolizing agricultural strength and national prosperity, may be faint or almost completely worn away, leaving only partial outlines of 1 cent and United States of America. And coins in this state are usually graded good G4, about good AG3, fair FR2, or poor P1, where the rims may blend into the fields, the surfaces may be scratched or pitted, and the color may range from dark brown to black or even greenish due to copper oxidation known as verdigris. And sometimes these coins show signs of improper storage, such as soil damage, corrosion, bending, or minor edge nicks, all of which significantly reduce their collector value. And in today's coin market, a 1957 D wheat penny in bad condition typically holds a value of only 2 to 5 cents USD, sometimes slightly more if sold in bulk lots or to collectors completing wheat penny albums. But it is not considered valuable as an individual coin unless it features a notable mint error, such as a major off-center strike, clipped planchet, broad strike, or dramatic die crack, which can raise its value even in low grades if professionally authenticated. And it is also important to note that cleaned coins, especially those scrubbed or chemically treated to appear shiny, are generally worth less than naturally worn examples, because collectors strongly prefer original surfaces. And although many people hope old wheat pennies might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, the reality is that only uncirculated or high mint state examples, MS65 and higher, or rare errors, hold significant value. Error varieties command high prices, while a worn 1957 D wheat penny is best appreciated as a historical artifact rather than an investment, especially since 1957 was just 1 year before the wheat reverse design was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, making this coin part of the final era of wheat pennies. Holding a badly worn 1957 D wheat penny today connects you to the everyday Americans who used it during the 1950s. Children buying sweets, families shopping at corner stores, workers commuting to factories, and shopkeepers handling thousands of coins daily. So while its financial value may be minimal, its true worth lies in its ability to tell a long, quiet story of circulation, survival, and the closing chapter of one of the most beloved coin designs in United States history. The 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a D mint mark, when found in bad, heavily worn, damaged, or poor condition, is a very common but historically interesting United States coin that represents everyday American life during the mid-1950s, a period shaped by post-World War II recovery, economic growth, Cold War tension, and expanding consumer culture. And although this coin is not rare or valuable in a monetary sense when worn, it still carries deep educational, cultural, and historical importance for collectors and history lovers, because the D mint mark below the date clearly shows that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which was one of the major U.S. mints. Mint facilities, producing massive quantities of coins for circulation across the western and central United States. And in 1954, the Denver Mint produced approximately 251,552,500 wheat pennies, a very large mintage that explains why so many examples still survive today in circulated and poor condition, especially compared to earlier wheat cents from the 1910s and 1920s. And during this time, pennies were used constantly in daily commerce for small purchases such as candy, newspapers, public transport fares, and household items, which caused most 1954 D wheat pennies to experience heavy wear over decades of circulation, resulting in coins graded good G4, about good AG3, fair FR2, or poor P1, where Lincoln's portrait on the obverse appears flattened. Hair details are mostly gone, the cheek and jawline blend into the field, and the word liberty may be weak or partially missing, while the reverse wheat ears, symbolizing agricultural strength and national prosperity, are often smooth and faded, sometimes barely visible, with only the central inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America, remaining readable. And many bad condition examples also show dark brown, black, or uneven toning caused by copper oxidation, soil exposure, moisture, or improper storage, along with scratches, rim dings, corrosion pits, bends, or edge wear, all of which greatly reduce collector value but tell a strong story of long and honest circulation. And like other wheat pennies of this era, the 1954 D cent was struck in the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy, weighed 3.11 grams, and measured 19.05 millimeters in diameter, making it a solid copper coin from a time before later composition changes reduced copper content in U.S. cents. And the design itself was created by Victor David Brenner, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, whose image had appeared on the cent since 1909 and symbolized unity, leadership, and democratic values, while the reverse wheat stalks framed the denomination and country name, reflecting America's agricultural roots and economic stability. And although a worn 1954 D wheat penny has very low market value today, typically selling for around 2 to 5 cents USD, sometimes slightly more in bulk lots, it is not considered rare or investment grade unless it has a significant mint error, such as a major off-center strike, broad strike, clipped planchet, or dramatic die crack, which can raise value, even in low grades, if professionally authenticated. And it is also important to understand that cleaning a wheat penny, especially one already in bad condition, almost always reduces its desirability further, because collectors strongly prefer original, naturally worn surfaces rather than artificially brightened or chemically altered coins. And while many people hope old wheat pennies might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, the reality is that only high-grade uncirculated examples, MS-65 and above, or rare error varieties command high prices, while circulated coins, like a poor-condition 1954 D wheat penny, are best appreciated as historical artifacts, beginner-level collectibles, or sentimental keepsakes. Especially because the 1950s marked the final decade of the wheat cent series, which ended in 1958, and was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, making the 1954 D penny part of the closing chapter of one of the most beloved coin designs in U.S. history. And holding a badly worn example today connects you to millions of ordinary Americans, children, shopkeepers, factory workers, farmers, and families, who use this small copper coin during a time of optimism, growth, and change, reminding us that the true value of a 1954 D wheat penny in bad condition lies not in money, but in the long journey it made through everyday hands and the quiet history it continues to carry. Next up, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny with an S mint mark, especially when found in bad, heavily worn, damaged, or poor condition, is a fascinating yet very common United States coin that represents everyday American life at the beginning of the 1950s. A decade defined by post-World War II adjustment, economic expansion, and the early years of the Cold War. And although this coin is not rare or valuable in a financial sense when worn, it holds strong historical, educational, and cultural importance that makes it interesting for collectors around the world. Because the S mint mark below the date on the obverse clearly indicates that this penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint, a facility that primarily supplied coins to the western United States. And in 1950, the San Francisco Mint produced approximately 118,505,500 wheat pennies, which is a relatively high mintage, though lower than Philadelphia and Denver issues of the same year, explaining why the 1950 S wheat penny is still widely available today in circulated and poor condition. And during this time, pennies were heavily used in daily commerce for small purchases such as candy, newspapers, postage, bus fares, and basic household goods, causing most examples to experience decades of wear, resulting in coins graded good, G4, about good, AG3, fair, FR2, or poor, P1, where Lincoln's portrait on the obverse often appears flat and smooth. Hair details are mostly gone, facial features are weak, the rims may blend into the fields, and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust may be faint or partially missing, while on the reverse the iconic wheat ears, symbols of agricultural strength and national prosperity, are often heavily worn, smooth, or barely visible, leaving only partial outlines of 1 cent and United States of America. And many bad-condition 1950s wheat pennies also show dark brown, black, or uneven toning due to copper oxidation, moisture exposure, soil damage, or long-term circulation, along with scratches, rim nicks, corrosion pits, bends, or edge wear, all of which significantly reduce collector value but add character and authenticity as a well-traveled historical artifact. And like other wheat pennies of this era, the 1950 S-cent was struck in the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin alloy, weighed 3.11 grams, and measured 19.05 millimeters in diameter, making it a solid copper coin from a time before later composition changes reduced copper content in U.S. cents. And the design, created by Victor David Brenner, features President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, whose image has symbolized unity, honesty, and leadership since first appearing on the cent in 1909, while the reverse wheat stalks reflect America's agricultural roots and economic resilience, themes that were especially meaningful during the nation's transition from wartime economy to peacetime prosperity. And in today's coin market, a 1950s wheat penny in bad condition typically holds only 2 to 5 cents USD in value. Sometimes slightly more if sold in bulk lots or to beginner collectors filling album spaces. But it is not considered rare or investment grade unless it features a significant mint error, such as a dramatic off-center strike, clipped planchet, broad strike, or major die crack, which can increase value even in low grades if properly authenticated. And it is also important to understand that cleaning a wheat penny, especially one already worn, almost always reduces its value. Its desirability is further because collectors prefer natural wear and original surfaces over artificially cleaned or polished coins. And while many people hope that old wheat pennies might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, the reality is that only high-grade uncirculated examples, MS-65 and above, or rare error varieties, achieve high prices. While circulated coins like a poor-condition 1950s wheat penny are best appreciated for their historical storytelling value, educational usefulness, and sentimental appeal, especially since the early 1950s marked the final decade of the wheat cent series, which ended in 1958 and was replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, making the 1950s penny part of the closing era of one of the most beloved designs in USC coinage history. And holding a badly worn example today connects you to countless ordinary Americans, children, shopkeepers, factory workers, farmers, and families who used this small copper coin during a time of rebuilding, optimism, and global change, reminding us that the true value of a 1950s wheat penny in bad condition lies not in its price, but in the long journey it made through everyday hands and the quiet history it continues to carry. Please like and subscribe to my channel.